Hello, welcome to Redmen TV. It's Uncensored match build-up show. Liverpool taking on Tottenham Hotspur at Anfield in the English Football League Cup. Which, is that the shittest name for this competition yet?
I thought it was a bit weird when it was called the Milk Cup. But
I like that. I like the milk farmers getting together and going, let's sponsor a fucking cup.
Yeah. Couldn't they have just given it to like a charity and said, do you know what, we'll call it like the Men's United Cup or Cancer Research Cup or something rather than the EFL Cup?
Yeah, there's been a lot. There's a lot of that like self-branding stuff going on this season. The Premier League's doing exactly the same thing, isn't it? Which is why we've got the worst Premier League shirt badges in the history of shirt badges ever.
They're annoying.
They are terrible. They're utterly terrible.
Why is the colour scheme also pink and green?
Because why not? Because fuck it.
And more importantly, they fucked around with the app for fantasy football.
I know they have.
It's terrible.
Let's not talk
Actually,
about
no,
it,
I don't use the app. I use the website, and the website's terrible. So either way, it's terrible. Anyway, the EFL Cup.
Coca-Cola Cup, yeah.
The Coca-Cola Rumblers Cup. We do this literally. I wonder, if you've been watching the show for 6 years, we literally do this every single League Cup game and always have done, and we will always continue to, because ultimately...
The cock was pretty bad though as well. The Capital One Cup.
Paul's face for a second there when he wondered what story Chris is
about. When you were talking about having a dripping wine on before, like, so...
Paul just went, shit, you're going to go there, you're going to mention that one on here, right? That time you had a really bad cock.
So yeah, Liverpool Spurs, will this be down to which manager wants it more, Chris?
Probably, yeah. I think, to be fair, I think out of the two managers, I'd imagine Klopp wants it more. I think you've got Tottenham going into a game at the weekend against Leicester, and then they've got a big Champions League game a couple of days later against Bayer Leverkusen. We're only a point behind them in the Champions League group, so they're on 3 points, Tottenham are on 4, and I think the winner in that group so far is on 5. So, fourth game week of the Champions League, 2 big games straight after this. I imagine that Pochettino's going to want to... he could go 2 ways. He could play all of his best players, knowing that they've got a week to train for the Champions League, but I think that he'll focus on the Premier League and the Champions League over the shitty EFL Cup.
Yeah, I spoke to Flav from the Fighting Cock stroke Ball Street this week at a game of FIFA. It's meant to be with us today. I hope they've not lost the footage, so if that's out, I won. You'll know, you'll watch it, and if not, I'll tell you the gist. They don't think, Aubrey, that he's going to take it very seriously. He thinks there's going to be wholesale changes for their team. I kind of expect similar for us, but I do think we'll continue with the theme of a handful of really hungry players who are raging to get into the team and prove themselves, and are also of quite a senior-ish. You know, we won't be playing any no marks or people we know or random kids in this. We're going to be playing people who deserve to be in there on merit. Compared to them, I think they might go a little bit more outside the box.
He's already told us that. Pochettino did a press conference 3 weeks ago and said, look, we're coming into a massive run of fixtures. Let's not refer to them as boys. They're not boys. They're professional footballers. I won't pick anyone who isn't good enough to play.
Who said that?
Pochettino. It was like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I remember reading it in the build-up to this. He's like, I need to make a choice. There's a Premier League game. There's a game against Bayer Leverkusen. There's a Premier League game. There's the game against Liverpool. There's a Premier League game. There's a game against Bayer Leverkusen. They need a break at some point. They're good enough to play. If they're good enough to play, if I think they're good enough to play, they're going to play. But essentially, so don't call them playing the boys. Essentially, he's going to play the boys. You know, he's going to play young players. We all struggle to have heard a lot of the names from there. We're in a position where we don't have that Europe. So I can see us making 6 or 7 changes, but then they will be names that you'd recognise. Those changes will be...
been sat on the bench for a few
games. Yeah, those changes could possibly be like Mignolet, Stewart, Sturridge, Origi, Ings. They're not like going down to your 19s. They're not the players that you're having to dip in. And you're like the bench could even be like Ovie Ejaria, Alexander Arnold. You know, Ben Woodburn might make the bench, etc. But we're not forcing them into the first team and expecting them to do it. I think it'll be more with Tottenham that you will see their equivalent of an Ovie Ejaria will start this game.
I'm convinced, and I think we've said this before, Adam, Klopp wants this. I think it really rankled with him that he didn't win it last time, and I think he also sees that, you know, look, our squad is too big for the amount of games that we have with no cup, if we don't succeed in the cup competitions. So I think, you know, he's got those players there. Players like Danny Ings and whatever, who he can throw in, he can trust to perform at a high level. And also, you know, I can say, because I think he's got one eye on getting back there and avenging what went wrong last season.
I think the mentality of picking the two teams is completely different. Like you're saying about, we've got to put the likes like Harry Winks in for them because they've got to think about getting further down the line. Pochettino's going to go in, right, I've got to try and keep my lads fresh. You go out and play this for us. But we're going to be like, well, if you want to play football, you need to do well in this game. So we've got players who are hungry. Like, I think Ings will start personally. I do think he'll get the gig up top. But all of our players are trying to get into a team where their players are literally just like the
rest.
Temporary agency staff.
Yeah.
Who were just doing his job for us,
It's coming a good time, I think, this for us, Chris, if I'm honest, because I think we saw in the last week or so when we had no Wijnaldum and Lallana in particular, Emre Can needed game time. There's a couple of players around that squad who we've gotten to a point of the season now where it's going to start to get more interesting. You know, before we know it, we're going to be in January and the fixtures are going to start to come thick and fast if we progress in this competition in particular. We know that we could probably do with having 2 or 3 more players who are prime and ready to be dropped into the first team if we need them.
It's an interesting one just from we were talking before, weren't we? What formation are we going to play? Are we going to continue with what we've been playing, or do you look to try and get Origi and Ings both on the pitch and maybe play 2 up top like we did against Southampton in the Cup last season? You know, there's so many different options because I think Origi definitely needs game time. If you're going to bring him on as a sub, he's looked rusty when he's come on, so he needs game time. But also, you want Danny Ings in and around that squad.
You want to reward him for it?
Yeah, he was rested completely out of the under-23 squad against Everton yesterday, wasn't he? So you'd imagine he's going to be in the squad in some way. Does he sit on the bench? Does he get it on the pitch? Who knows? To be honest with you, I'm just sitting there thinking now, you've done such a good job on those start 11s so far that I think you should really be the one that does it for this game, Paul. Now I'm just saying there, and if you're a man, you'll stand up, and if he's not a man, I'll be doing the show, yeah?
Yeah. I think you've nailed that there, Chris, to be fair. Like, listen, you know, I'm sorry that I didn't get the memo. You forgot to, in your handover notes, you forgot to say that you deliberately meant to get one wrong to drive the conversation in the comments below.
I put it on Twitter, I told everybody.
I was too good for my own good. But yeah, no.
You got the memo about the player ratings, though?
Yeah, the trick is just to say numbers and see what happens. Yeah, 100% on that. I'm glad you're back because I've enjoyed getting those last 2 right because it's nice to have a little bit of banter on Twitter, isn't it? But ultimately, that is the impossible task.
No,
picking Liverpool's starting 11 for that game because. It was nearly tricky, the West Brom game, when there was talk of Milner maybe not fit enough, and the fact that Wijnaldum was likely to be at least in the squad. That gave you 2 question marks. Whereas this, as you say, you've got, and Adam, I know you want to talk a little about Sturridge, so I guess I'll lead towards this now. Just in terms of who leads the line, you know, Danny Ings has been. Klopp even said a couple of weeks ago, I owe it to Ings because of the shift he's been putting in. That there's just been no opportunities to put him in the first team because he's basically third or fourth choice in the squad. When I get the chance, I will reward him with it. Divock Origi, as we said, he is clearly the next in line because he's on the bench already. But Daniel Sturridge needs a goal. You know, he's not playing well. He's our first choice backup centre forward. Yeah?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
What I got there.
So, I mean, that alone, I mean, you said that you back Ings, but Daniel Sturridge, you've done an infographic for us.
I have.
I think we need to scan this in or something because
that does need to go on. There is a stick man, and I even did a draft before I made that.
Proper teacher, yeah.
I know. Look, there's even coding. How sad's that? I think I really need to get a life. If it's a triangle, it's against a small team.
Don't point it to me, point it towards the camera.
Oh yeah, that's a good point, that. Yeah, look at that. That's how sad I was this morning, getting up at 7 o'clock.
We're going to scan that in.
Right,
we're definitely putting that in there. Make a note of that, Tom.
Personally, I don't think you play Sturridge. I think you play your future, and I don't think Daniel Sturridge's future is...
But why?
But why?
Why?
Because he's only available 43% of the time.
But he's available now. That's irrelevant.
He is available now. He doesn't look like he's firing though.
Not on that picture.
No, he doesn't. He's a stick man with no face.
Definitely hungry, isn't he?
I'm sure that's
You said you need to play some hungry players. He's starving him.
My problem with Sturridge and playing him now is, yeah, he got a lot of kind of abuse for the United performance. He didn't look like he was interested. He didn't really look like he did much. Stats obviously prove it. He was a little bit more in that game than he is, but I think for how we want to line up with that front three being so fluid, Sturridge doesn't fit into that. I really don't think he does, because I don't think he does enough when he does get pushed out from being the number 9 out wide.
Or we need a head-to-head with Steele.
Yeah, no, Steve likes this. If you go on the facts for him, when you come to big games or you come to cup games, he's got a really good, goals per game. He's scored against Burton Albion, Notts County. He's obviously scored against Mansfield, but
obviously
a lot of
good strikers.
A lot of the teams who he scored against, I know that the 1 goal every 2 games thing looked good.
So why didn't he score against United then if he can score against that shower of shite?
Well, funnily enough, his goal thing against United is actually 1 in 2. But the problem being is that when he actually plays as a number 9, when he plays as number 9...
What's his goals against Villa, just out of interest?
1.25 goals per game.
Really? You've got that there?
Yeah, because I can do maths quickly, score 5 and 4. It's not hard.
What about Hull? What about Hull?
Oh, Jesus. Where are Hull?
They're on there. Did you leave Hull off?
And you put Villa in, they're not even in our league.
No, this is he scored against Hull?
He mustn't have.
Because I don't think he scored against Hull.
What about Everton?
Everton, I don't know, 4 and 6 against Everton, but his thing in cup games when he's played at number 9, he scores, but the minute he has to go out wide, from the left wing and the right wing, he averages a goal every 1 in 5.
How did you ask him that many teams and not mention the team we're playing?
Oh yeah.
How about
Tottenham? Doing against Tottenham's buildings
that Spurs, he has never scored against Tottenham.
Oh fucking hell!
He's not the right man.
First time for
and
everything.
I think quick look, he played 4 or 5 games.
I don't disagree.
I can't believe you got that much information on that sheet. That's
incredible. It is the second draft of it, to be fair.
Yeah, it is.
I don't disagree with the Daniel Sturridge thing. I'll be perfectly honest. I think what it will boil down to is, do we feel he's had enough opportunities this season? Because I don't think it's clear that he has. I don't think he's had. You know what I mean? He's not had 3 games on the bounce. I think that's true anyway. He's not had a run in the team in his best position. But when you give it, I wonder whether we're now at a point, Chris, where if we're only going to offer sparse and limited opportunities to people, see if Ings or Origi do better given those chances. Because if they do, then they deserve to have those chances more than Daniel Sturridge.
I'm not going to write Daniel Sturridge off yet as a Liverpool player.
I'm not saying writing him off, but
I think you need to
have.
Worth
giving you need to have a chance?
Yeah, you need to have more than 2 options up top who are match fit, and this is one of those games, one of those few games that we're going to be able to get people match fit in. The worry for me with Sturridge is, he didn't have a great game up against Manchester United. Was he really fed the ball well?
Did he come to get the ball?
That's the problem.
That's where the debate goes, isn't it?
It is, because it goes 2 ways, doesn't it? It's like the midfield didn't do enough to play with Daniel Sturridge, but Daniel Sturridge didn't do enough to mirror what Firmino does when he plays up top. But you've got to put a little bit of onus on those midfielders and go, we're not playing with Roberto Firmino, we're playing with Daniel Sturridge, so we need to change our game a touch to fit him into the side, and that's a worry, isn't it? We're going to need another way of playing football, so I think we should probably be looking to find a way of getting Daniel Sturridge scoring goals. Not to say that that's the game.
Not just trying to shoehorn the stats in, but you go, I am shoehorning the stats in. You go through the percentage that he's played since he signed. First season, 72. 2013-14, 64%. Year after, 27. Then 36. This year he played 40% because he's so early in the season and all that. So the stats are a bit rubbish, but he has to fit into the system that Liverpool play. Liverpool don't play so that Daniel Sturridge can look good in that system.
Let me
At the
give you
minute,
an
we
example.
look really good in our system.
Of course he will, but every single time you change that striker, they aren't going to play exactly the same way.
True.
Divock Origi doesn't play exactly the same way as Roberto Firmino, but he's looked good as the point of attack last season.
True, but let's give an example. If Daniel Sturridge was Christian Benteke, would we be as arsed? Now I know Sturridge has got a better overall goals to game ratio, but we're talking about example, and we've seen it time and time again. We don't like to see it, but if Daniel Sturridge doesn't, and I think it's become. This is why I'm saying let's give an Ings or a Origi a go, because if Ings can't do it, because we think he actually is probably a more natural fit in terms of just his overall work rate. If him and Origi are struggling with it as well, then 100% we need to think a little bit more about what our approach plays like. But if Daniel Sturridge doesn't fit, he doesn't fit, and he'll you know what I mean, and he will be moved on by the manager, because it's no different to Benteke or Carroll or fucking whatever.
The difference for me is that Daniel Sturridge is a clever footballer, regardless of what we all think here. I think given time, he will be able to fit into that system. Whether we've got the time to afford him that, I'm not sure.
The problem,
not if we're challenging for the title, and we are up there at the top of the league. So it's a tough one. Whether I would actually pick him tomorrow against Tottenham, I don't think I probably would.
I know we're having the conversation about what we're going to do against Spurs, but if you look and say you want to be able to say Sturridge is going to be our main man in there, because I'm really sad. Of the other 4 top strikers for the other team that we compete against, their availability is 73%. They are available to play games. If you take out if you take out Aguero, you put Aguero in, it drops to 68%. Sturridge is 43%. Liverpool have to play without Sturridge most of the time. So we need to make a system that works for us. Which, do you know what? If Origi doesn't fit in the system, if Ings doesn't fit in the system, and Sturridge doesn't fit in the system, it's not change the system to fit for them. It's go and find yourselves another club, lads. Yeah. We'll buy players who fit into that system. And for me, the problem is that when Sturridge is fit, yeah, sometimes you do look at him and you go, he looks a really good player. But I didn't even realise this looking at the teams he scored against. He scores against jobber teams. You would expect him to put, against Sunderland. You'd expect that.
No, I don't think I'm not really the person, because I've said all along that I think Firmino and Origi will be better than Sturridge all season. But equally, he scored in the Europa League final last season. A fucking wonder goal, which I don't think you do. I'm just backing him up because I think stats can be misleading.
Yeah, they can be, certainly.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with having a guy who scores against the shit teams, because they're the teams you should be scoring. You're right. I'd
say you should have a system that can score against them. You shouldn't have to rely on Sturridge. Sturridge is a very good player. He can do wonderful things. But I'd much rather a system that can last for Liverpool 6, 7, 8 years, and you go, that's how we play football, and it works for 11 men, than Sturridge and building a team around him, because he's not the guy to do that.
I think ultimately, I'm not arsed anymore. You know what? Yeah. I just want a guy to come in and prove his worth. And like I say, for me, Aubrey, I just think right now, we're only going to get limited. These games are limited opportunities that we have to try something outside of the Premier League, which is obviously the most important thing this season. And it boils down to the simple question of who deserves to start that. Does Daniel Sturridge deserve to start it because of his raw talent? Or does Danny Ings deserve to start it because he's been putting the fucking shift in and he's been scoring goals at the level he's been given it? Or does Divock Origi do it because he's young and he needs games time to develop? That's what it boils down to. And I genuinely, it's not a for or against Daniel Sturridge thing in any way, shape or form. It's about it's about giving opportunities to the guys we've got, somebody in the chance that someone takes that opportunity.
Definitely, yeah. And again, you can make an argument for all 3 of them, and it's slightly unfairly weighted, the panel today about Daniel Sturridge, because if there was a Steve here, we all did our starting 11s, and it wasn't the starting 11 as where it was. Klopp knows more than us, but we didn't have Sturridge in our starting 11s. I've got a slightly different way of thinking about it that I've just come to listen to you talk about it. Now, in about 6 weeks' time, we're going to lose Sadio Mane for 5 games. It's going to happen. He's going to go to the African Cup of Nations. Who do we want up and running? Or who comes in and keeps our team playing with the intensity and the way we've been playing? Because we need to prepare for that. Now, the one time Sadio Mane has not been available for us this season, Daniel Sturridge started on the right against Burnley, and it wasn't great, right? But was that because the system was new and you had to learn it? So ultimately, we're talking like we've got this first 11, which is boss, and the first 11 is boss, but we know there's a disruption coming. It's not even as if someone turns their ankle over in training tomorrow. We're going to lose a core part of that in Mane coming up. Is that you learn how Firmino can go on the right and Coutinho goes left and someone plays down the centre, which would be a Sturridge or it would be a Origi? Is it we try Danny Ings on the right so that you can see what Danny Ings is like, being the Mane light position with the rest of the players? Or do you go, okay, with everyone fit, this is our team, the 4-3-3, take Mane out of it, and let's say one other injury like Lallana happened, what is the best team?
It could even be that Lallana ends up on the right and you put Wijnaldum and Chan in the middle with
exactly.
Or something.
So we know that's coming, we need to plan for that, but also you're going to have one of those, at least one of Sturridge, Origi, Ings up and running, close to that team. Now the
Maybe
best,
Ojo as well.
and then you've got in the background Shea Ojo, who could come in and basically. But is he going to get elevated ahead of? Is he going to get starts in the Mane position ahead of Sturridge, Ings, and Origi because he does that role, and he's the player who does that role. Brilliant. Then you're just replicating it, and that's because we've become that team. We've become a team which is based around a system as opposed to a team that's based around individuals. But it's all.
But that's the point. I think that's the point, isn't it? Is that Daniel Sturridge, and this is why I'm not asked. Daniel Sturridge will either. I think it's adapt or die under Klopp. I think the days of us playing to one guy are over, and I know we're sort of doing that with Firmino. But I don't think that Firmino's not scoring every fucking game. He's not so good in that position that he's no one can step. I don't think it's possible for anyone to step in instead of him. It's just intelligent movement, and I just think intelligent movement plus work rate is doing him a lot of favours. And I think someone's ringing me. It's really annoying me. But there's a possibility that someone could easily could usurp that. But Daniel Sturridge for me just looks like. I get what you're saying. What's that other option? What is that other option that he's bringing? Is it just having a guy in the box who puts it in the back of the net? But is he offering that stretch in the play that way? Is he good enough coming deep or whatever? I don't know. Like I said, I kind of don't care. Provided someone steps up, I'm not asked. I'm not asked who it is, which is sad because I like Daniel Sturridge and I think he's a tremendous footballer. But hopefully, ideal scenario for him, he starts this game, scores a couple of goals, and he's fucking bang on fire. And
he has done in the League Cup so far this season.
That kick-starts the season. That's perfect. That's absolutely perfect because he's our most natural centre forward. But other ideal situation is one of Origi or Ings gets a couple of goals and does what Emre Can's just done. He's been given a little opportunity, and all of a sudden you're thinking, hello. Well, maybe you're coming in for the next Premier League game as well, mate. So,
don't forget as well though, when we played, was it Leicester when Sturridge led the line at home?
Yeah, he was really good.
And they looked fluid as hell in that game. There are games this season, and this is the thing, because the games are like once a week at the moment, you kind of forget quicker what's gone on before it, and you think, there's been times when Sturridge has played up top and people on this couch have gone, that's our fucking home formation. That's how we should be playing at home, because Sturridge has led the line.
The Leicester game,
first home game. Bad games.
The Leicester game, first home game, Coutinho dropped out, didn't he, because he'd travelled with Brazil. And we played Sturridge in there, and we talked about how Sturridge looked like he gets it. One bad game doesn't write you off, and one good game shouldn't make you think the answers are all solved. He led the line really, really well against Leicester. Leicester's defence was open, and they were bad on the day.
Was that the game he got the assist for Mane?
It was,
with the little back heel that he doesn't fucking assist.
Yeah. And he looked, and we actually sat here. We did a show where we talked about, it's clicked. He's figured it out. People are taking the Man United game too seriously in that sense, because ultimately he was shit.
It's never
22
it's
touches.
Never his game that as well, is it?
Well, 22 touches, one in the box. Yeah, he had a real stinker of a game, and the team looked better. But there's also two key personnel from that team missing, Lallana and Wijnaldum. United put every one of them back in their box, and they just drowned them out. He could literally start against Tottenham and look like the best striker that you've ever seen in a Liverpool shirt, get 3 goals, 2 assists, and then you're suddenly like, shit, we've now got a Daniel Sturridge problem. How do you not
all
pick
that
him?
being said, though, is the key to... It's obvious the fucking key to this team. Yeah, having quality, absolutely. But if you're not scoring, you just want to fucking see people go at it a bit more. And I think that is ultimately the key to, if nothing else, winning over the fucking Liverpool fans, because we've made legends of players with far less ability than Daniel Sturridge. And if he's not playing well, he's not, and he is an intelligent footballer, he's an intelligent man. He should know that the least he should be doing is fucking throwing himself around into stuff, and maybe say that's not naturally his game. If that's not naturally his game, he is going to struggle to get into that side, and it's only going to be a matter of time before one of Ings or Origi usurps him in that pecking order. And like I say, I got no problem with it. Hopefully it'll all work out for him.
A couple of games on the bench, watching the way that we've played, will make him want to be a part of it, and he'll have seen what he needs to do to be a part of that as well.
The problem with Sturridge is when he comes off the bench, his goal record coming off the bench isn't great. He's not an impact sub. He takes time to grow into a game, but you never quite know what you're going to get out of Sturridge. You either get him the next game where he does get to play the full 90 and you go, God, he looks really good. He's
going to score today.
Chomping at the bit
I know
for
within
it,
5 minutes normally whether he's going to score.
Yeah, there's a bloke near me who can tell off his shoulders when he comes on the pitch if he's decided. And to be fair, he has got a little bit of a science behind it. Not that he's like a protractor getting the angle, but if the first ball was played into him that he loses, the shoulders go. And the heads, he's decided that he doesn't care on that day. Not care, but it's not his day, and that's it done. But with Sturridge, he either comes on the next game and plays amazing, or he mopes, and that's when you get that bit of just throw yourself about a bit.
Like I say, I think we've done a lot on it, and I don't want it to be a bigger deal than it is, because it should be a simple thing that he's had a couple of chances. Let's see what someone else can do, and let's hope that someone like Ings gets a chance and absolutely impresses, because Origi's been given a few chances in the competition, looked decent. So yeah,
are you
more
moving
of that.
on to key man here?
Go ahead.
Not that I'm canvassing opinion, but who does everyone think they're going to start?
We're not telling you that.
Oh, come on!
I think Bruno Shearu's got a really good chance. Jean-Michel Ferry's a definite.
DM
Anyone want to throw a key man prediction out there?
I reckon the lad who scores the goal means we win. I think he's going to be a key man.
Yeah.
Grujic then?
Sturridge.
Can I look at the camera and say everyone who could possibly play, and then you just edit it together and make it look like I know?
Absolutely not.
No, we'll edit that into the starting 11 prediction. Hang on a minute.
Not happy with that at all.
Adam's on the starting 11 prediction this week.
I'll throw one out for the Grujic, because he's had a couple of these opportunities, and I don't think he's really grasped them as yet. I think Emre Can forcing his way into the team is actually a good thing for Grujic, because he must think, okay, he's looking at Lallana and Wijnaldum and going, well, maybe I haven't quite got that touch, but he'll look at Emre Can and go, he's another unit, he's a powerhouse. I bank myself to score more goals than Emre. Here's a chance for me to show what I can do. I think he played a little bit within himself in the last round, so it could be a chance for him to shine. What do you reckon? Anyone else?
I'm going to go with Lucas Leiva from the defensive midfielder position, going to pop up in an attacking mid position and score a goal.
You're fucking on crack. You've been all 2 weeks.
You just don't want direct messages. That's all it is for you. I'm going with Danny Ings, because I reckon if they play a young team and Ings starts, he will run them ragged. He will chase them.
Why the fuck didn't I just say Danny Ings?
Yeah, I was going to
for that reason.
You can't lose with Danny Ings. Up.
I was going to go with Lucas, not for the crazy reason that Chris just had. I think he'll play, and I think obviously his experience, it's going to be nowhere near as younger team as what Spurs will put out, but it's still an inexperienced team. There's potential there to have disjointedness and players who are playing haven't played for a while or out of position almost, so that Lucas just actually being the senior statesman. Henderson has got a tactical yellow, so he's definitely not playing the game, and I don't think Milner will play. So then Lucas by proxy becomes the most senior player in there. So just to put his arm around him and just to actually dictate the play.
Okay. Have you got a score for us?
Yeah, 3-1 to Liverpool.
Okay.
1-0 Liverpool.
Wow. 2-0 Liverpool.
I think we're going to win on pens.
Oh, no.
Oh, it's the League Cup. We always have pens, don't we? Come on, we haven't won in a while. Yeah, I fancy some pens. Why not? Late night.
First pens at the new main stand.
Sure.
Not getting home till very, very late on Tuesday night.
Sure. Whose turns on the edit, Tom?
It's me. We're not dropboxing.
Excellent. Okay. Let us know your keyboard predictions and your score predictions in the comments below, and discuss anything that we've discussed if you want to carry on those discussions. That's a lot of use of the word discuss. Chris is going to have the unfavourable task of picking Liverpool's starting 11. Join him over there. He'll be back in the saddle, back in the swing of things, and completely unable to top my brilliance for the last 2 weeks. But that's not your fault in any way, shape or form. Anyway, yeah, I'm also supposedly playing Flav on Pro Evo, Liverpool versus what are they called, North East London or whatever. It's good. Check that out. He'll be giving some insight on how he thinks Spurs will line up. Thanks for watching. Subscribe.
Have you improved since I beat you? With the hinders?
It helps when I wasn't being physically manhandled in front of the screen, but yeah, definitely.